this morning that they had to do it within the current bus budget, that there would be no new
I haven't
money?
heard any of his statements this morning, so
Yeah.
It was in the Times, wasn't it?
I looked at the clips and I didn't see that, but
I didn't see it specifically.
if you saw it, Edith, I'm not doubting you, but I didn't see that. And some of this stuff can be done with the current budget, as long as you get cooperation from the City of New York and NYPD to make sure these routes are free of obstructions. You can also do the transit system prioritization for, so the buses get a green light.
And how about the limited buses that sit in bus stops all day?
This is brought up to him as well.
But the other thing is the only 16 bus routes having the cameras on board for monitoring, and they're pushing up against that quickly with the next round of them. And what's being done in Albany to push through, being able to get those cameras on the buses for monitoring.
You're talking about cameras that show what the passenger activity on the bus?
No.
Or you're talking
No,
about
no.
Face forward.
face forward bus?
Face forward
Oh, you
to
mean,
see the-
to clear bus lanes?
To clear bus
Yeah, that's
lanes.
legislation that's pending.
Where,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
where
that's
is
been
it?
Exactly, but the bus drivers then have to activate the cameras and use the cameras, and most of them don't want to,
Well,
so even if there were.
Perhaps our guest speaker will speak to that
and
today.
then we can never get a report
No.
out of DOT to see the success rate and the difference between.
Because there is no success rate, Ellen, it's a failure rate, so.
That was only
It
a
was a pilot on First and
pilot,
Second
yeah.
Avenue, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was a disaster.
Well, let me go on. We're still
But
getting.
when, before you talk about buses, I brought in something,
I'm done talking about buses.
well, then I am not.
Okay, then bring it up in new business.
No, I just want everyone
I'm in
to
the
see
chair's report.
and read this about New York City Transit, right?
I don't,
I mean,
yeah.
everybody else talked their way,
They're
and
all talking
I'm
to
not
the-
even
she was
saying
talking to
how
the
it took
topic.
me
They were
an
talking
hour.
on
She
a
was
topic.
talking to the
The
topic.
topic was buses, right?
Buses are over.
Okay, well, I didn't have, never mind, that's fine. Can I talk about trains, or is that
Not
on
yet.
also?
You will have a chance, I promise.
Thank you.
So, as you know, Transit and, in the conjunction with the New York City Department of Transportation, held several L-train open houses, two in Manhattan and two in Williamsburg. Many, as you heard from the early report, many, Sheila and Bradley and I and several other of Bill and Ellen attended some of these.
Chris was there.
Chris was there too. I was just getting into staff. But these were well attended. There were some sort of spur of the moment demonstrations at some of these. Don't shut it down. It's a plot by the banks and Wall Street. The People's MTA came up with that was just brilliant. So I looked at Andy Pfeiffer and said, so if we don't shut it down and the tunnel collapses on a train, what then? And he goes, but anyway.
I'm going back to Toronto.
Yeah. No, he handled it really well, as he has handled most other things. The plan is moving forward. It's very intricate. I'm obviously not going into it today, but there is a lot of treatment of 14th Street, Grand Street, the Williamsburg Bridge, the J, the G, the M, subway lines. One of the things that MTA does really well when there's a major shutdown is prepare a brochure. If your destination was here, here's the best way to go if your destination is here. As it turns out, from an origin and destination survey, it appears many of the folks who got on at Bedford Avenue were headed to Midtown as opposed to downtown. That being the case, they're going to institute several new free transfers. The 21st Street Van Alst on the G to Hunters Point on the 7 will be a free transfer during the L train shutdown. One of the ones that will be permanent will certainly be temporary during this, the Junius Livonia 3 L train connection, which is long overdue. It's one of the last places lines cross and there's no free transfer. The Broadway on the G and Hughes Street on the J and Z will be a free transfer, walking transfer. So there's several good things that will be happening, as well as, HOV lanes on the Williamsburg Bridge, the ferry service you've heard about, and other things. This, as during the summer of hell, this will be a work in progress. If it looks like certain things aren't working, they will be adjusted. Now, you've seen some of these fanciful things like pontoons across the river and you know, a Swiss style chairlift type crossing of the river.
It should take 20 years to build.
Yes,
Yeah,
somebody has left us, I think, or somebody.
Just turn it off?
Yeah, just hit the,
Which one?
with the handset on it, if you would. There's a button with a handset on it. Just hit that, thank you.
I think in both
We lost our people.
It says
lost
it's
both?
ready.
Oh, well, yeah, it always says ready. So anyway, stay tuned. There may be actually a lawsuit by some folks who live along the 14th Street corridor
Yes.
about no environmental impact statement being filed for the treatment of 14th Street and actually the shutdown of the L train in toto. I don't know what a judge is going to do with that. I'm not an attorney, but we wouldn't want to see this delayed too long. So hopefully it will be adjudicated one way or the other so that the construction can start. Because the sooner it starts, the sooner it's over. Bill, we don't need to go into any more of that. Some all-electric buses are coming. They obviously will not be totally in place for the L train shutdown, but they are coming. You can see them on the B32, the M42, and the M50. You know now, of course, that the R211, sorry?
I said I rode them electric bus, the newest electric bus on the B32 before.
Yeah. You like it? All right. The R211s are coming to replace the old but venerable R46s, which have conversational seating, which I happen to love. But there will be a few trains worth of open gangway cars so that they can be evaluated. Like I said, it's Showtime crowd are going to love these cars. They'll be able to walk right through them and not have to get out at each stop. But we'll see if it aids loading. If some, you know what, is still standing in the doorway, it's not going to make a bit of difference. So hopefully.
I just hope there will be more R179s coming in.
And you know how there was a mock-up of them at Hudson Yard Station and people gave their comments? Those comments were heard about the height of the handholds and all of those things. So those will be changed because you know, you really did have to be a basketball player to reach some of those. They were really high. So that's good that the folks are going to be listened to. Staten Island bus study is moving forward. Redesign of many express routes. Bill, you attended one of those hearings, did you not?
I did,
Okay.
yeah, and there's another set coming up. If people would like the information on it, we'd be happy to give it to them. It's on the MTA website as well.
Okay. The subway action plan is going ahead, and so far the results are pretty encouraging. In places where the action plan has been in effect, major incidents are down 30 to 40%. So that's a good sign. We wish we could do more of it and more quickly, obviously. We're waiting to see if the city will come up with its half of the $839 million. It is not currently in the de Blasio budget. But Speaker Johnson is in favor of city funds.
Morning's meeting had a discussion on it.
Do you want to quickly give a little update on that? No? I know that the chairman is testifying before the city council today, correct?
The chairman testified this morning,
Yeah.
9:30. Warm reception, I think.
Warm? Good.
To,
Yeah.
the need to get it done.
Yeah, well, I think anyone debates the need to get it done. I expected to have a little more to say about the Freedom Ticket pilot, but we expect to hear more about that this month. You may have seen that many elected officials from Southeast Queens and the Queensborough president thinks that the pilot should go to Penn Station. We initially hoped it would go to both Penn Station and Atlantic Terminal, but at the time, Chairman Prendergast had told us that Amtrak was planning to close the East River tunnels in 2019 for major work. Apparently now Amtrak has decided that's going to be in 2025, not 2019. So perhaps there can be a phase 2 of the Freedom Ticket initiative after the Atlantic.
It's the pilot.
The pilot,
Yeah.
excuse me, pilot.
Which can
But we expect to
capture-
hear more about that.
Yeah.
But I believe a lot of folks who are now paying the regular monthly MetroCard rate would up their payment to the new rate to save an hour each way. And hopefully fill seats that are not filled and thus improve the MTA's bottom line as well. and maybe leave their cars at home, that would be even better. All right, so that's it. Does anyone have any questions about the TRC report? Chris, and then Trudy.
Andrew, regarding the R211, as you know, Edith and I were there at the event. The one thing we did ask, and I did mention this at the last TRC meeting last month, but Edith, you weren't there, sorry. We did discuss that cameras was supposed to be was supposed to be on the new set of R211s. We hope that the cameras will be going on there because they will catch the dancing people, the homeless levels,
Yes.
and everything that a customer wants to be safe to get on a train. Because lately, since our mayor, and I'm not putting him down, but there are things that he did commit that he was supposed to work on, we still need to be worked on, is the homeless level
You
and,
did quote marks, Chris. He really is the mayor, you know?
as I was saying, because I don't want to laugh too much about it, but it's funny.
I don't agree with that.
But the bottom line is we did ask for
Yeah, I
proposals to be
believe there's
down.
gonna be cameras in those trains. I think all the new car orders are gonna have cameras.
Well, since we're all here as PCAC, or as well as TRC, can we make sure that those cameras will be there? And when they do see the train set does come, we like to know, can we see it?
Yeah, I mean, have you ridden any of the new R179 trains?
Yes,
Did they have cameras in them?
no,
Nope.
No?
and he could vouch on it too, because I saw him also on it. It was on the J line as a customer
Yeah.
passenger one, and the test one was along the Brighton line,
I'm
which they're still
surprised.
doing
I
it
thought
today.
all the
Yeah,
new, I'm surprised. I thought all the new orders would have in-car cameras.
No, sir, I looked everywhere, I can tell you one thing, it smelled nice, but it feels like I'm still on the R160, but it doesn't make a really, when it makes the curve into Brighton Beach, you never know it came in, it's like, where'd you come from? It scared the heck out of me a little bit, but,
It still makes sounds, doesn't it?
no, it doesn't make the squeaking noise like when it's screeching at
Isn't
your
that good?
chalkboard. Yeah, I'm not complaining, it
Oh, okay.
just scared me because, you never knew a train came in, it came in quietly.
All right.
You know, there was a group called the Big Screechers.
Yes.
Carmine's group.
Carmine's
And
group.
you would be very happy right
Very
now.
happy. Trudy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I want to talk about, well, first of all, once again, with the work going on the number 6, it is getting worse and worse. Today, I had
It being delays, you mean?
delays or trains going through the busiest local station, which is 77th Street, my station. And I used to think they did it because they knew I used it, but I'm not that paranoid anymore. But the fact is that with the work going on the number 6, even this morning, the time, what do you call it?
Countdown clock.
The countdown clock kept on signaling train coming in, 2 minutes, whatever. It was 14 minutes until the number 6 stopped. They went zooming through, and this happens with alarming regularity. I mean, the irregularity is alarmingly regular. And if there, I'm getting back to the thing I talk about constantly, communication. Now they're putting up signs, but the signs only have to do with the work being done overnight. It does not deal with the work that is done or the reasons for trains zooming through local stations. So I would like to, I don't know if we can.
I obviously don't know what your issue was this morning, but that was obviously an unplanned thing. If some trains must have been so
to
far
get back-
behind schedule,
exactly.
they had to.
But all I am saying is let's have the countdown clocks or the announcements, even if they're the
Let you know you're not
have
gonna be
some
boarding.
kind of synergy with what is actually
That's
going
interesting,
on.
because on the west side line, when they're going through and not stopping, it actually makes that
Yeah.
sign. It says, train not stopping,
Well,
please step back.
Good, that's because you live on the west side and I live on the east side, and they do it for you, but not for me. No, all kidding aside, what I am saying is that there should be some, I'm going back to my old thing, I was gonna use another word, about lack of communication with customers, passengers, whatever.
Okay.
So, okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the situation with the bus study and everything else. First of all, Bill wrote a wonderful letter to Darrell on my behalf, with, Bill, if you can maybe make copies and pass it out to.
I can send it around.
We send it around to everybody, because I talked about 5 different circumstances, each of which happened either to me or people that I was there for, or that people called me up or told me about. And all of these people are kind of sneering at the idea of there being a bus study. Our town, which everybody on the east side, you have the west side, the equivalent on the west side also. But this was the headline, and it wasn't saying they're gonna do it or anything like that. It says MTA to pitch bus fixes this spring, and if you read the whole article, again, it is, maybe you'll wanna make copies. I brought in an extra copy of this. But this was given out Tuesday night when they had the Our Town Award ceremony. And again, I was accosted. I was just there for somebody who was getting the award. But I was accosted by all kinds of people saying, what are you doing about this? And you've got to do something. And we go back to, again, the big trouble with the SBS, because the bus lines are not cleared. And I'll get back to the thing that I brought up with having cameras on the buses and having, you know, and the bus lanes are supposed to be clear, both on the crosstown SBSs and they are not, and the drivers don't want to bother. And I've had conversations with some of them. Some of them are not civil, and they are quoted in the letter. But those who are civil just say, why bother? That is basically.
I have noticed that DOT is doing, maybe it's for Con Ed or electric or something, but or gas work, but their major sections of 86th Street are now dug up, which is affecting the M86 SBS.
No, I know that, but I'm also I'm talking mostly about First and Second Avenue. And the whole problem with the bus stops and the buses not stopping with us. Bill will pass that around.
Yeah,
pass around the letter.
But it is not that,
I will
it is
send the letter around.
on Second and First Avenue especially, the bus lanes just really don't exist. I mean, they're there, it says buses only,
Which is why we hope that that law with the cameras.
Let's,
Yeah,
No,
no, I mean,
but
that is, you know, cameras are a huge issue in the legislature. I'm not the expert on it, certainly. But, generally, bus lanes are enforced through fixed position cameras, cameras on poles. There's a limited number of those that are authorized by the state legislature. Right. There's a limited number of cameras that are authorized by the state legislature, and it really takes state action to
Are they
put
monitored?
those.
Who monitors them?
that's what the report shows. They've got 14 routes.
I did not, but I think she dropped off. It just-
No,
she wants to be called back.
Okay, could you just, who monitors them? And what
We'll
is
find
done
out.
with who
With the,
monitors them?
exactly, to see the performance on those routes.
I mean, even
that
the
have the
fixed,
fixed cameras.
the fixed cameras,
And
I don't think are
it's a city
monitored.
DOT.
Yeah,
We can't spend a lot of time on this today, folks. We have a speaker waiting.
but I understand. Amy, I'm sorry, but.
But we'll follow up on it.
Please, and if you want to make a copy of this whole article, you can
We'll,
and pass it around to
I
everybody.
think everybody gets the clips at this point.
I don't know, okay, I don't. And he's not necessarily in the clips.
All right.
You don't have to do it right now, well, if you
I'll
want
ask
to.
Deborah.
Fine, okay.
Okay, I think we need to move on to the congestion pricing issue because our speaker is here and she has a fixed amount of time, so.
Due to new apps,
All calls must not.
So, Bill, do you have that to pass around?
Yes, I do.
I will
Actually,
do
our
it.
folks have that, and they'll get it out to you.
This is it, right?
Do we have the resolution?
Yes,
Including Iris.
You passing it out?
Yes.
Bradley? Okay, great.
Hello, Marisol?
I got a copy now. Did you get one? That's it, okay.
Hello? Hello? Marisol?
And Jerry's out of the room, but he said he's in favor of this resolution.
Okay. Everybody quickly look it over, make sure it's what you thought it was gonna be.
And this includes Jerry's and
It does,
your
it's the
comments
latest, it's
and
the latest
mine.
iteration, yes.
Okay, fine.
It obviously says, money goes to the MTA, it is not just to New York City Transit, obviously.
And the lock.
Obviously,
It's there.
Long
No, I'm
Islanders,
saying it is.
Long
I'm-
Islanders pay tolls, they're entitled to get their transportation fixed as well, obviously.
No, this is, can I just
Okay, we're getting
make
everybody back.
not a resolution,
Hold
but
on,
a
motion
motion?
accept.
Can I make a motion, or not can I? I would like to make a motion to accept this resolution as written, and that it be sent to,
That's all you can only make a motion to accept, and there's discussion afterwards.
well, no, but I want, but there's another part of the motion, and then
You have to
everybody.
you have to make the motion on the resolution as it's written, and then you can amend it afterwards.
I don't want to amend it. I just want to say that if it is accepted, that it then be sent to all elected officials in both the city and the state who are affected by this, including the governor, the mayor.
Okay, that's not
and
included in the
everybody else.
resolution, but yes, of course.
Oh, we'll send it to all the relevant folks, don't worry.
I second it.
Okay, thank you.
Discussion.
Any
Call the question.
Marisol, we're getting people back in. Back on. The vote on the congestion pricing just, as written, just to place, where it was taking place.
All right, folks, seeing
So
no,
have we passed this?
No,
we're
wait,
about
wait,
to,
wait.
when we ask for, if everybody,
Did you share my stuff?
Yeah, I didn't get your email, I didn't get an email from you.
I did.
Oh,
Who's that?
okay, hold on just a second.
Francina said she got disconnected.
She got disconnected, hold on just a second.
Oh.
well, we're not gonna, we really need to do this, folks, because our speaker is patiently waiting. So, all those in favor of the resolution, as you see it before you, say,
Aye.
raise your
Aye.
hands.
Aye.
Let me just see.
We're sorry. Your call did not go through.
4,
I keep my hand up.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Warren, raise your hand.
Your son.
Warren,
Lauren,
wake up.
sir,
Raise your hand.
we're doing the resolution.
And
You two,
Jerry.
Are you yes or no?
Jerry's a yes.
Yes.
That's 10. And I think Bill has somebody's proxy on this too.
I have several proxies, I have one, Scott Nichols said he is opposed to
Opposed, right.
congestion pricing, and Sharon King Hoag said she is for the resolution.
That would make it 11 then, as of this moment.
Okay.
Well, that's majority of those present, so easily. And we know that Scott is opposed. Anybody else opposed? Anybody abstaining? Sorry? Okay, so that would make it,
Okay, can you prove it?
Now should I do the second one?
wait, let me just make sure
Everybody
he's
there?
done with this.
Francina, you there?
I think it might be too disruptive to the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's,
So what with
Okay,
technology?
now can I make another motion?
go ahead.
Okay, I now move that now that we've accepted this, that the copies of this resolution be distributed to everybody from the mayor and the governor and all the legislative leaders and the city council, maybe all city council members, not just the leadership. So to know if you want to do a covering letter from Bill or from, or from you or from whoever, saying that this is our position, and we hope that it will be.
And I think it also should go to Sam Schwartz, since he
Oh, to Sam
came to
Schwartz,
us.
no, Sam Schwartz, just so you know,
All members of the Fix NYC panel should get it as well.
Duly noted.
and just in the interest of transparency, I have been in touch with Sam Schwartz a couple of times since the TRC meeting, and he knows what we are doing with this, and he says thank you. But it should go to as many people as possible. Maybe we can put out a press release or, so that publicly.
We can, that's easy.
One thing this
Okay.
resolution does not do is state a preference for the doing away with the bridge shopping and having each bridge tolled. But we didn't want to get into those kind of details because that might that might split some folks. But, you know, as it is now stated, it's clear that,
Basically the Fix New York,
yes, this is
Right.
basically, and this does not ask for reduction of tolls on the crossings that serve the congestion district, which the Move New York plan did, and which some folks think it was a better. But we'll leave it the way it is. This is what has passed, and this is what we will be sending out. If the legislature, in their infinite wisdom, chooses to make some additions, you know, we can revisit this. But so we've passed on this.
and my second motion also.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
okay,
doesn't
so
require
it is
that.
gonna be sent out.
Of course.
then,
Yeah.
And we'll put out a press release announcing that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's not keep our speaker waiting any longer. Amy Paulin is obviously the chair of the important state committee that oversees the MTA committee. What is it, corporations?
Corporations,
Authorities
authorities
and commissions, right. And she has attended an MTA board meeting. I saw her there and spoke to many board members, and hails from Westchester County, which is why she was on the phone so much. There's so much going on there with the power outages and both storms. So it's really wonderful that she has the time to come here and speak with us today. So, Amy, you're on.
So I have a lot of long remarks, which I may skip around now that I have a better sense of who you are and perhaps what you want to hear from me, but I'm going to start that way and skip as I go along, okay? So, first, really thank you for inviting me, because as a new chair, only a few months, to get to know who's involved and who the players are and how the system works is very critical for me to be able to do my job effectively. And, I want to listen at this point more than I even want to talk. I do obviously have access to some information that might help you, but for me to have listened to a lot of what you were talking about and some of the issues, I think there's a dialogue that we should continue. And I think I could skip my whole first page, actually. Okay, so a little about me. I've been in the Assembly for 17 years, and this is my 18th year, and I've had many different committees. I represent Scarsdale, Bronxville, Eastchester, Tuckahoe, Pelham, Pelham Manor, part of White Plains, and part of New Rochelle. I represent one of the areas in Westchester that has more commuters than most, if not the most commuters. My town is Scarsdale, and I would say at least every other household has a commuter, if not more than that. As such, I've appreciated, and I was a commuter myself, I should add. So as such, I've appreciated how the MTA is like a circulatory system in the body. It enables the greater New York City area to be the economic powerhouse that it is by maintaining a vibrant flow of people. Just like your own circulation system, our public transportation system is very easy to take for granted when things are working well, and very easy for any major blockage to quickly turn into a serious crisis. The MTA is even more sprawling than most people traditionally think of as the greater New York City area. We're also including all of Long Island through the LIRR, and not just Westchester and Rockland, but as far as Putnam, Orange, and Dutchess through Metro North. Last year, 1.76 billion people rode the subway, and 170 million either used Metro North or the LIRR. When you add in buses, that's another 764 million riders. The numbers are immense, and the MTA has to be an immense agency to manage all that. Size also works against the MTA. There are many smaller authorities and agencies within the MTA, and that could lead to some competition for resources. I know because I've been there. Major crisis in one branch, like the subway, may need to take precedence over keeping trains and rails in good repair, which then can turn into and can cause another crisis down the line. And it's very interesting because you see this just now on the call that we were on with Con Ed, how many crews and bucket trucks and line crews and all that are out there, and you hear one community has them and one community doesn't. And fighting against each other and within becomes, unfortunately, part of what we hear, and I think part of what we seriously think about avoiding. There are layers of bureaucracy and short-term political choices that have had major impact year to year, and it's common for inefficiencies and bad policy to grow when there's inefficient oversight. But of course, the biggest challenge is funding, particularly funding for the infrastructure improvements that in some cases needed to have been done years or even decades ago. These needs are now long overdue. They contribute to the greatest crisis of confidence for strap hangers and commuters that I can remember in a very long time. It's not that we've completely neglected funding the capital improvements for the subway or commuter lines. We've spent billions of dollars, but we haven't gotten ahead of the curve. And time is always marching on in terms of our aging infrastructure, to say nothing of the need to incorporate new technologies like positive train control. From the last audit by the state controller, we know that a third of the cars used in the subway are more than 30 years old, and 40% of the signals are more than 50 years old. Indeed, some of them were installed in the 1930s. We also know that 201 emergency ventilation plants in the subway, 1/3 of those are not only 50 years old, but they've never been rehabilitated. There are 5 emergency ventilation plants that have been used for more than 100 years. The only way you'd think of having millions of people each day relying on signals built in the days of FDR and ventilation plants built in the days of Woodrow Wilson to be acceptable is if you think the subway was reliable, if it was good enough. But the so-called Summer for Hell has made it very clear that our past is catching up with us. This past year was the worst on-time performance for the LIRR since the turn of the millennium, with track problems, signal problems, and switch problems leading to often miserable commutes. Metro North commuters, my own constituents, are telling me of short trains and terrible overcrowding. The state controller's numbers for 2016 tell us that the average distance subway trains traveled before breaking down was 112,000 miles, which is down by 1/3 and the shortest average distance recorded since 2001. It's not just the trains themselves. The controller reports that 79% of the delays in the system were caused by signal malfunctions, track issues, power issues related to Con Ed or the MTA's own electrical infrastructure, water damage, and track fires, as well as subway car breakdowns. Again, the subway is the region's circulation system, so this level of delays, unreliability, and blockages has a pronounced effect on the economy. Last fall, the New York City Controller quantified the economic impact for the city somewhere between $170.2 million and a worst-case scenario of $389 million just for subway delays. Of course, economic impact isn't the only way to look at the cumulative effect of a subway and more frequent and more severe delays and less reliability. We've heard too many heartbreaking stories of home health aides, hourly workers, and minimum wage workers for whom a subway delay isn't just frustrating or inconvenient, it could cost them their livelihood. We recognize the status quo just isn't good enough. New Yorkers are angry, and they have a right to be. The anger gets compounded when we start asking probing questions. The New York Times features stories on the roots and impacts of the subway delays and the outrageously high cost of construction on the subway attempted to shine a spotlight on those part of the bureaucracy that haven't received as much attention. But instead of answers, we're coming back with more